You can blame me, try to shame me, and still I'll care for you. You can run around, even pull me down, still I'll be there for you. The world may think I'm foolish, but they can't see you like I can.
Okay, Brain, I get it. You're excited. Daytor's coming back to Robot Wars. It's amazing. But for the love of God, can we please stop with the mind games? Whatever. Hello YouTube viewers and random Doctor Who fans, God damn it. Hello YouTube viewers and random Robot Wars fans, and welcome along to my review of the World Series Episode 1. Man, it's great to have a Robot Wars special around this time of year, isn't it? Some of the robots are even helpful when it comes to dealing with the weather. Shunt and Kilowatt have obviously been working hard to clear away the snow, but come on, Behemoth would be excellent for doing that sort of thing. As for the episode itself, we're all up to speed on most of the robots appearing in this special. The only real difference is that they all have the Union Jack spray painted onto them. So let's take a look-see at the newcomers. Rabbit M8 are the first machine to represent Portugal in any series of Robot Wars. The machine itself, of course, had a previous life as D from Battle of the Stars, as made famous by John Reed. I guess you could say John Reed's gone from having a big pink D to having a big never mind. However, it now has a new bladed arm and black colour scheme, which also features the Portuguese flag and is much heavier due to Team Rex modifications. Rabbit M8 is named after the team's featherweight of the same name, which was a two-wheel driven wedge-shaped robot armed with a small vertical crusher. And we all know who this is. It's Cadena Machina with wheel guards. In all seriousness though, I did interview the team captain Pete Redmond several years ago now, where he definitely expressed interest in returning to Robot Wars should it ever come back.
If the show were to ever make a comeback, would you be interested in either submitting a new robot or resubmitting Dator or working on the show in any capacity?
Absolutely, I'd love to, yeah. If the show comes back, I'm definitely in there. Probably not with Dator because even though the show stopped, competitive robot fighting has gone on, and the robots now are very, very sophisticated, and they're using very high-spec materials like Hardox armor, which wasn't used in certainly when Dator was being envisaged at the beginning.
It is so fantastic to see him keep his word. Much like with Behemoth and Terahertz, Dator are just a staple of Robot Wars, and it's excellent to see them return. As for using a modified Cadena Machina, it's ironic that Team Dator gave Terra Australis their first robot Nemesis and repainted it to compete in the international tournament in Series 3. Flash forward 18 years later, and Dator is using a pre-built robot to compete in the international tournaments. The original machine is still around, but would not be able to compete in the modern series. I saw it at Dublin Comic Con in 2013, and the red fur was finally added back onto it at a later Comic Con. The Dator which we saw in this episode may be Cadena Machina, but the wheels are now partially protected by side armour, which is a good move. The vertical flywheel weighs 15 kilograms, it spins at a top speed of 2000 RPM. Its armour is 3mm Hardox with 2mm steel, and the robot's top speed is 10 miles an hour, but features an exposed drive belt for its weapon. The other two international robots have appeared on the new series before, and both seem to be unchanged for this special. Cobra no longer has its crushing arm and instead has a full front wedge, while Tomahawk is pretty much the same machine that we saw in the 9th Wars. So that's technically all the newbies in this week's episode out of the way with, so let's move on to the fight analysis. I was so shocked to see the opening rounds in a tag team format, a style we haven't seen since the original show. A Apollo and Cobra began the match with Cobra running rings around Apollo, even driving up the front, but were able to get off the wedge before Apollo could fire. It was impressive, but it wasn't causing any damage. Cobra hit the arena button, which opened the pit, and they had to perform some fast driving maneuvers not to fall into it. Cobra finally displayed some excellent aggression and showed off the power of their drive by holding Apollo in place, but this allowed Apollo to finally get Cobra with the flipper and toss it into the sidewall. This made Cobra tag Tomahawk, who showed some very poor control by missing Apollo with the axe and driving immediately into dead metal. They then pressed the button, which triggered Fog of War, and Apollo used this distraction to tag in Gabriel too in a nice display of tactics. Gabriel then battered Tomahawk several times, landing controlled hits while pushing Tomahawk over the fire pit and picking up points for minor damage. Apollo and Cobra then came back into the action, and after Cobra flipped itself when running up Apollo's wedge, they were thrown by the floor flipper. Apollo used this as a chance to flip dead metal, but this backfired on them and they toppled over but stylishly recovered. However, dead metal was able to grab Apollo and cause minor damage to the wedge. After helping out its teammate, Gabriel attacked both international robots, who chased it into the centre of the arena where Apollo got stuck in and aggressively flipped Tomahawk. In the madness, one of the arena spikes shot out of the floor again as dead metal rammed Apollo and Cobra into the wall. Apollo seemed more interested in flipping dead metal over than participating in the fight, which is entertaining, but they also pushed the house robot spikes into Cobra, which was a unique way of picking up damage points. Gabriel almost threw themselves into the pit while attacking Tomahawk, showing lack of control, but the earlier flip by Apollo seemed to have damaged Tomahawk's drive, as while the weapon was firing, they weren't moving, and drove themselves into the pit with a malfunctioning drive, and Apollo finally overturns dead metal as cease is called. I do agree with the judge's decision. While Cobra were the more aggressive at the start, Apollo and Gabriel worked well together as a team in damaging Tomahawk's drive, which led to them driving into the pit. It's really interesting to see Sabretooth and Terahertz as tag team partners after Sabretooth beat Terahertz in the 9th Wars. Kind of reminds me of King Bee and 101 in the classic series. They had this rivalry going on, yet ended up teaming up and becoming tag team partners. This battle unfortunately showed that the Battle of the Stars robots were no match for the competitor machines, as Dator's disc wasn't very effective against Terahertz's front wedge, and just one hit from Terahertz's axe was enough to dislodge Dator's removable link. Is it weird that I love seeing Dator's eye being smashed off the robot? It took me straight back to my childhood. With Dator mobile, Rabbit M8 came on the attack. Sabretooth hit its mace with the drum and threw the comparatively lighter machine into the air, and as it landed, they shredded apart one of those exposed wheels and threw out the removable link as well. Despite the battle being pretty much over by now, Terahertz activates Fog of War because John Reed is questioned by no one. After the fog cleared, Shunt put Dator on the flame pit, and it was so satisfying to see that fur burn after 15 years. I also appreciated them showing us the Fog of War being used to put out Dator after the fight, which they have done to other machines off camera, such as with Rapid in the grand final. The fight began in a very underwhelming way, with both machines running rings around each other, and not even activation of Fog of War or Rogue House Robot seemed to change the battle in any way. Sabretooth seemed to be doing a lot of running away with Cobra chasing, and when they finally caught up, the impact was aggressive enough to flip Sabretooth over. Cobra then aggressively slammed him into the CPZ, making great use of the arena hazards. A few slams later, and Sabretooth began gyro dancing around the arena, trying to self-right, maybe to make the drum more effective when right side up. Cobra kept running into Sabretooth at high speed, bashing them into the side wall and really taking control of the fight. You can see that the design of Sabretooth's weapon makes it very hard to hit Cobra thanks to its steep wedge design. I also noticed Cobra hitting the button, but nothing happened. I'm guessing the Fog of War and House robots are exhausted from overuse by this point. Trying to push Sabretooth into the CPZ again resulted in them being briefly caught by dead metal, which Sabretooth were able to take advantage of. Cobra recovered and nudged a gyro-dancing Sabretooth into Sir Kill-A-Lot. It's great to see a robot with no main weapon utilise the arena hazards so effectively. Except they pressed the arena button again, but nothing happened, and this left them open to another attack from dead metal. Cobra rammed them again, which broke the drive belt for Sabretooth's weapon, a serious bit of major damage inflicted. The fight ended with Cobra shoving Sabretooth into Kill-A-Lot's claws. It went to the judges, and for me they gave the correct decision as Cobra dominated that fight. They were the more aggressive, displayed excellent strategy by utilising the arena hazards effectively, and caused the most damage to Sabretooth. Tomahawk seemed to have these weird flails on the sides of the robot for this fight, and I have no idea as to why. Maybe to try and jam up Terahertz's wheels? Terahertz looked to be the more aggressive immediately, chasing Tomahawk around the arena, but were caught by Matilda's flywheel, marking them down for control. Tomahawk retreated and hit the button opening the pit, but this allowed Terahertz to pin them against the sidewall with some help from Sir Killalot and land a firm hit. You can see Terahertz landing several blows directly onto the shaft of Tomahawk's axe and bending it. With the amount of holes drilled into the side, it creates weak spots at the top and bottom of each hole, and when bent, these can snap easily. You can see how damaged and bent that shaft is as Matilda flips the robot over, where the axe hits the sidewall and the momentum and weight of the machine snaps it off completely. Removing or disabling any machine's weapon counts as serious, major damage, and Tomahawk would have to work hard to win this fight if it went to the judges. Unfortunately, their drive seemed to be getting slow and sluggish as Terahertz were able to manipulate them and push them toward the pit, and because John Reed is the god of memes and he knows it, he says the immortal line, "Wait for a good hit," then delivers one. The final axe blow slams Tomahawk into the pit and Terahertz wins the fight. This battle easily belonged to Terahertz, with the masterful driving and accuracy of the weapon to target the axe shaft of their opponent and snap it off before putting them into the pit in a stylish yet controlled manner. After a few missed attacks, both machines collided and you could see both are going for each other's perceived weak spot, the wheels, so good tactics right away. Rabbit M8 are in a constant spin to knock the treads off Gabriel, while Gabriel are smashing up and down to pierce the wheels of Rabbit. Rabbit also showed excellent control by avoiding dead metal on the fire pit, but both seemed a little bit out of control for most of the fight, as they couldn't really attack each other without missing due to the size difference of both machines. Gabriel were caught out by the floor flipper and landed on one of its wheels, which seemed to restrict the drive on that side of the robot, as from that point on they weren't fully mobile, and the wheel began to seize up throughout the rest of the fight. Rabbit activated Rogue House Robot, which allowed Shunt to come in and cause further damage to Gabriel, as the wheel had stopped completely following that attack. Gabriel ended the fight completely immobilised, but before it was counted out, so it went to the judges, who fairly gave it to Rabbit M8. They may have not been majorly controlled or aggressive, but they were the much more active team and the least damaged by the end of the battle. At the beginning of the fight, Dator went straight for the flame pit and set themselves on fire. They knew they weren't gonna win, as the spinner wasn't powerful enough to cause any damage to Apollo, so they went for the entertainment factor instead, and I really appreciated that. There's something so oddly beautiful about seeing a burning Dator being flipped in glorious high-definition slow motion. It's reasons like this why I'm so glad this show was brought back. Apollo flipped Dator into Sir Killalot CPZ before finally beaching them on the sidewall. Rogue House Robot was activated and Apollo decided to spend the rest of the fight entertaining the audience and attacking the house robots. I love the entertainment factor of Robot Wars, and there's nothing better than seeing two teams like these in the arena. Even after Cease was called, Apollo were trying to flip Dead Metal over again, and even tried to make it 4 out of 4 by flipping Killalot, which they almost did. I know how desperate Dave is to get all 4 house robots over, and Killalot is the last one standing. You could hear how much of a frenzy the audience were in as Killalot almost toppled over, and I loved it. Of course, with Dator beaten, the UK had the most points and won the competition. It's nice to see that even in the rebooted series, nothing has really changed. So overall, what did I think of this episode? Well, I never really had much hope for the Battle of the Stars robots. They look like they're more designed to fight each other and not some tried and tested heavyweight designs. I know the teams worked really hard on them, but they didn't build them from scratch, and I think that had a major effect in the outcome of the battles. It was great to see the team captains utilising their role and not just having it as an honorary title. Dave and Pete talking tactics with their respective sides and spurring them on was fantastic and showed how clever and involved they were with the entire episode. But the Tomahawk captain giving Pete grief was unacceptable. You do not speak to Pete Redmond that way, madam. He's Robot Wars royalty. I loved how much they respected the legacy of Robot Wars. They mentioned how long Pete Redmond had been a Roboteer and how much of a staple he was of classic Robot Wars. Heck, they even showed some clips of Dator in action during the 5th Wars. Just like in the classic series, there's a lot of Dator fur being passed around in the pits, and it was excellent to see the other teams with the red and black polka dot material on their machines. Seeing them talk about and acknowledge smaller weight classes on the show was just excellent. If the show does return again, I'd love to see a mini league of beetle weights and ant weights especially running alongside the main heavyweight competition, as they tend to get overlooked compared to the larger machines. Noel Sharkey loves the ant weights and had a lot of fun controlling Anthony's ant weight Rusty in the pits during the 10th Wars filming. Here's hoping we see them, along with other weight classes involved in the show, in the future. And finally, after 3 series, they brought back the battle music. I thought it was utilised perfectly, as it was quite low-key, and the low bass of the beats really brought some drama and some excellent personality to each fight, while not overshadowing the organic noise of the robots hitting each other in the arena. But what did you think of this week's episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave all of your points of interest, stuff that I've missed, and your general observations in the comments section below. And join me next week where I'll be discussing episode 2 of the World Series. In the meantime, if you're new, please hit subscribe to Good Robottle, but also me, but also Good Robottle as well. They're a new channel, but they have an awesome robot-related podcast. Please go subscribe to them, they really need your support. I'll leave a link in the comments section below. Anyway, also if you're new, subscribe to me as well, and also you can follow me on all of my social media accounts that you see before you. Happy New Year, folks, and I'll be back this time next week. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
Could whack that off.
That off, yeah.